All right, so today we're going to do a deep dive into something that I think we can all agree is like kind of the make or break moment for a YouTube video, right? I think you scroll, and it all comes down to that split second. Does the title grab you or not?
Totally.
And we're not just theorizing here.
Yeah.
We've got some serious data to back this up because TunePocket, they went and analyzed a huge number of YouTube video titles.
Yeah, they did.
Like over 50,000 of these things that were all trending on the platform.
That's a lot of titles.
It is.
A lot of titles.
And by the way, we should mention up front for anyone who's like, okay, cool, data, I want to use it. They've got this free YouTube video title generator tool that we're going to be talking about as we go.
Definitely going to want to check that out.
Yeah, so we'll sprinkle that in, but it's really based on this research that we're going to dig into.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see what we can learn from that massive data set of theirs, right?
For sure. So for anyone creating videos, especially for YouTube, this is gold because we all know, like, we spend all this time making the video.
Yeah.
But if nobody clicks on it, you know, you're kind of shouting into the void.
You spent all that time for nothing.
Exactly.
Okay.
So TunePocket didn't mess around. Like, they looked at length, obviously a big one, right?
Of course.
How many words, how many characters, but then also, okay, are you using a question?
Right.
Or is it more of a statement or a list? How's the capitalization looking?
Yeah.
And then they even got into, are you throwing in emojis?
Those are important.
Are you using any of those special characters that kind of catch the eye?
All the bells and whistles?
All those visual things?
Yeah.
And even, they actually analyzed the sentiment of the title. So is it like super positive or more negative or neutral?
Interesting.
So we're going to unpack all of that.
I'm excited.
So first things first, how long should your title actually be?
This episode is brought to you by TunePocket. Boost your YouTube success with powerful free video optimization tools. Visit TunePocket.com to get started.
Okay, yeah, that's the big question, right? And TunePocket found that most of these trending titles, they kind of fall into this sweet spot between like 41 and 60 characters.
Oh, okay.
Which usually shakes out to, 7 to 9 words.
Okay, so before we go any further, why do you think those specific numbers, why are they kind of the magic zone?
It's a good question. And I think, there's probably a few things at play there.
Yeah.
But one of the big ones is that this is kind of the sweet spot for both readability and visibility.
Okay.
Right. If your title's too short, you can't really tell what the video's about. But if it's too long, it just gets cut off in search results.
Yeah, you see those ellipses and you're like, come on.
Exactly. And you don't want that.
Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that, right?
Right.
Especially these days when, people are watching YouTube on their phones, their tablets, their laptops, their smart TVs. Everything, right? You got to make sure that title works everywhere.
Works everywhere.
Yeah. And 7 to 9 words, that gives you enough room to, get the main idea across without overwhelming people.
Okay, so we have these kind of ideal numbers, 41 to 60 characters, 7 to 9 words. Now, they did analyze a whole spectrum of titles.
They did.
So only a tiny percentage, like 4%, were those super short ones, like 1 to 3 words.
Okay.
And then about 23% were a little bit longer, 4 to 6 words. The big chunk, the 32%, that was our sweet spot, 7 to 9 words.
Right in there.
But then a pretty sizable chunk, 40%, those were 10 words or more.
Yeah.
So looking at those longer titles, what does that tell us?
Well, I think it tells us that while that 7 to 9 word range is definitely like a good rule of thumb,
right?
It's not like a hard and fast rule,
Yeah.
Sometimes you need more words to accurately describe your video, and that's totally fine.
Okay.
But it is interesting when you look at the character count breakdown.
Okay.
Because again, only a tiny percentage were under 20 characters.
Okay.
About 30% were in that 20 to 40 range.
All right.
And then boom, you see this huge spike in that 41 to 60 range.
Right.
Almost 32% of trending titles are right there.
Okay.
And then after that, the numbers start to drop off pretty significantly.
Yeah.
Like only 18% are between 61 and 80 characters, and just under 16% are over 80.
So it's like, even if you can technically fit all those words in there, maybe it just looks too visually overwhelming.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
Right. It's like a wall of text.
Like you said, it's like a wall of text. Nobody wants to read that.
Nobody wants to read that. They're just going to keep scrolling.
Exactly.
Right.
Especially when you're scrolling through, a feed of like 50 different videos.
Yeah, it's got to be instant.
It's got to be instant, yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. So keep that character count in mind, even if you're like, oh, but I need these extra words.
Right.
Maybe there's a way to rephrase or...
Yeah, there's always a way to, tighten things up.
To tighten things up.
Yeah, and that's where TunePocket's tool can come in handy, right? Because it'll help you generate titles that are both informative and concise.
Right.
So you can make sure you're hitting that sweet spot.
So definitely something to play around with.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got our length sorted. We're keeping it nice and concise.
All right, what's next?
Now let's talk about how those words actually look.
Okay.
And this is where the capitalization comes in.
Uh-huh.
So TunePocket found that mixed case was by far the most common in these trending titles.
Makes sense.
Yeah, about 72%.
Wow. Yeah.
So title case and all caps, way less frequent.
Okay.
Why do you think that seemingly small detail, like how you capitalize,
Yeah.
why is that so important?
Well, I think it's all about tone, right? Mixed case just feels more conversational, more approachable,
More natural?
more natural, exactly.
Yeah.
It's how we read and write in everyday life, so it just feels more like a friend talking to you than like, you know, a company trying to sell you something.
Right. It's not like yelling at you.
Yeah, and you definitely don't want to come across like that,
Definitely not. Especially in the YouTube world,
especially in the YouTube world. Yeah.
where it's all about being relatable
Yeah.
and kind of connecting with your audience,
Building that trust.
building that trust, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, mixed case, I think that makes a lot of sense.
It does.
This episode is brought to you by TunePocket. Boost your YouTube success with powerful free video optimization tools. Visit TunePocket.com to get started.
Okay, so we've got our length, we've got our capitalization. Now, what about the format of the title itself?
Okay.
Is it more common to see a question trying to kind of pique your interest?
Oh, yeah.
Or are we going straight for the statement?
Right.
What did they find?
Well, they found that the vast majority of trending titles, like a whopping 84%, were statements.
So questions, listicles, all that, less common.
Much less common.
Okay, so why do you think that is?
Well, I think it goes back to what we were just talking about with the mixed case,
Okay.
right? It's all about being clear and direct and just telling people what they're going to get.
Okay.
Like if you're looking for information on YouTube, you don't want to have to wade through a bunch of, you know, clickbaity questions.
Yeah.
You just want to know, like, is this video going to answer my question or not?
Yeah, it's like, don't waste my time.
Don't waste my time. Exactly.
Tell me what you're going to give me.
Exactly. Statement. Yeah.
Statement, clear, concise.
Okay, so we're keeping it concise. We're using mixed case. We're stating what the video is about. Now let's talk about how to make it visually pop,
Okay, yeah.
because this is where it gets interesting. TunePocket found that a huge percentage, like 75% of these trending titles, they were using either special characters or emojis or both.
I mean, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're scrolling through your feed and you see this wall of text.
Right.
And then boom, there's this like bright, colorful emoji that just catches your eye.
Right.
It's like, oh, what's that?
I gotta click.
I gotta click. Exactly.
Just a little reward.
Yeah. And it can also help to quickly communicate the topic or tone of the video.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you see a little like wrench emoji,
Yeah.
you know it's gonna be a DIY video.
Or if you see a little like laughing emoji, you know it's gonna be a funny video.
Exactly. And it can just add a bit of personality to the title.
Totally.
So I feel like, you know, this is a good one to keep in mind when you're using that TunePocket title generator tool.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there an emoji that makes sense? Is there a special character that maybe adds a little something extra?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So emojis.
Emojis.
Now, the other thing that we see a lot on YouTube
Yes.
are those list style videos.
The listicle.
Listicles.
Everybody loves a listicle.
Everybody loves a listicle,
Right.
And it's usually signaled by a number.
Yeah, definitely.
Top 10, 5 ways to, you know, all that.
Exactly.
And TunePocket found that about 28% of trending titles were using numbers.
Okay.
So why do you think that format is so consistently popular?
I think it's because it sets really clear expectations.
Okay.
Right. You know exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah.
If you click on a video that says 10 ways to improve your golf swing, you know you're going to get 10 tips on how to improve your golf swing.
It's digestible.
It's digestible, it's organized,
Right.
it's easy to follow.
Easy to follow.
Yeah.
You're not going to be like, what is this video even about?
Exactly.
Halfway through.
No, you know exactly what you're getting into.
You know exactly what you're getting into, right?
And I think that's really appealing to people, especially on YouTube, where, you know, there's so much content out there.
Yeah.
People are just looking for something that's, you know, quick, easy to understand,
Yeah.
and delivers on its promises.
Delivers on its promises. And it seems like if you are using TunePocket's tool and you are doing one of those listicle style videos,
Yeah.
it would probably make sense to, you know, select that option.
Yeah, definitely.
Because then it's going to be like, okay, here are some titles with numbers in them because that's what the data shows.
Right. It's all about using the data to your advantage.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So now what about, we've got all these kind of structural things, but what about trying to really add some emotion or excitement to the title?
Yeah.
TunePocket found that a small percentage, about 3%, were using those emotional or power words.
Right.
So small percentage, but what kind of impact do you think those words can have?
Oh, I think they can have a huge impact, even if it's just a small percentage of titles using them.
Yeah.
Because those words are designed to really grab your attention.
Yeah.
Like think about words like secret or ultimate or shocking.
Right.
They immediately make you want to know more.
Yeah, it's like a little hook.
Exactly. It's like a little hook.
Right.
They tap into your curiosity, your emotions.
Your sense of urgency.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta know what the secret is.
What's the secret?
Right.
All right.
So yeah, I think those words can be really powerful, but you got to use them carefully.
Right.
You don't want to overuse them, and you got to make sure that your video actually delivers on the promise of the title.
Right. You've got to back it up.
Exactly. You don't want to clickbait people.
Definitely not. Nobody likes it.
Nobody likes that.
Okay. So then we also have the use of brackets and parentheses.
Oh, yeah. Those are interesting.
They found that about 9% of trending titles were using those.
Okay.
So what's the thinking there?
Well, I think it's a way to kind of sneak in some extra information without making the title too long or clunky.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like you might see something like, how to bake the perfect cake, easy recipe,
Right.
or my trip to Italy, 2023.
Right.
And it just gives you a little bit more context without, overwhelming you.
Yeah. So it's like the core title and then a little extra something.
A little bonus information.
Well, bonus information.
Yeah. And it can also be used to highlight, important details, like if there's an updated version of a video or something like that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then the last thing that TunePocket looked at was the use of hashtags in titles.
Okay.
This episode is brought to you by TunePocket. Boost your YouTube success with powerful free video optimization tools. Visit TunePocket.com to get started.
Now, they found that only about 16%, so a fairly small percentage, were actually using hashtags in their titles. Yeah. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's because hashtags are more about discoverability than they are about grabbing attention, right? They're meant to help people find your video when they're searching for specific topics.
Right.
But in the title itself, I think they can be a little bit distracting.
Yeah, it can look a little messy.
Yeah, they can make the title look cluttered and less appealing.
Yeah, not as clean.
Not as clean, exactly.
Right.
So I think it's better to use hashtags in your video description and tags where they can actually do their job.
Where they belong.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, use hashtags strategically, but maybe not in the title itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so last but not least, they actually analyzed the sentiment of the titles.
Oh, right.
So are they positive, negative, or neutral? And overwhelmingly, like 88% were neutral. Positive titles, about 3%.
Okay.
Negative, even less.
So neutral's the way to go.
It seems like it. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it makes sense, right? Because like we've been saying, the most effective titles are the ones that are clear, concise, and just tell you what the video's about.
Right.
They're not trying to be overly sensational or manipulative.
Yeah.
They're just giving you the information you need to decide whether or not you want to watch the video.
It's like, here's what it is. If you're into it, great.
Exactly.
If not, move on.
Move on. No hard feelings.
Yeah. So I think that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So if we're looking at all this data, it's like, okay, we're going for that sweet spot of length.
Yeah.
We're using mixed case. We're being clear and direct with a statement. Maybe throwing in an emoji numbers if it's a listicle. And keeping it pretty neutral.
Sounds like a recipe for success.
It does. It's interesting how these little details can really add up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, of course, the title is just one part of the puzzle.
Of course, it's not the only thing.
Right. You also need to be thinking about your tags, your description, all that good stuff.
Absolutely, and your thumbnail too.
Oh yeah, the thumbnail.
That's a big one.
Another visual thing.
Yeah, that's the first thing people see.
That's the first thing they see, right?
Yeah.
So you got to make sure that's eye-catching as well.
For sure.
But at the end of the day, none of that matters if your video isn't good.
Yeah, that's the truth.
You can have the most perfectly optimized title in the world, but if your video is boring or it doesn't deliver on its promises,
everybody's gonna watch it.
Nobody's gonna watch it, right? Yeah. So content is still king.
Content is always king.
Right.
That's the most important thing.
Right, and TunePocket actually emphasizes that themselves in their research.
They do.
It's like, look, you can optimize all you want, but make good videos.
Yeah, focus on the content first.
Yeah.
And then worry about the optimization.
Right.
Because that's just going to help people find your great content.
Yeah.
It's not going to magically make bad content good.
No, it's not going to magically make bad content good. So yeah, make good video.
Make good videos.
That's the takeaway.
That's the most important takeaway.
All right, so just to quickly recap, TunePocket's analysis, over 50,000 trending titles.
A lot of data.
A lot of data. And it's like, okay, that optimal length, both in characters and words.
Right.
We're using mixed case. We're being clear and direct with a statement format. And we're not shying away from those emojis and special characters.
Yeah, make it pop.
Make it pop. Visually appealing.
Visually appealing.
Right. And this is where that free YouTube video title generator tool comes in handy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because you can actually take these insights
Well,
and start applying them to your own videos.
exactly, and it takes all the guesswork out of it.
Right.
Which is great.
So if you're creating videos for YouTube, definitely go check that out.
I'd second that.
It could really help you fine-tune your titles and, get more people clicking.
And that's what we all want, right?
That's what we all want. More views.
More views, more engagement,
More engagement, more subscribers.
more subscribers, the whole shebang.
The whole shebang, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we wrap up, I do want to leave you with a little something to ponder. So we've seen all these trends in these successful YouTube titles,
Yeah.
but at the same time, we've got this huge explosion of these short form video platforms.
Or like TikTok and Instagram Reels and all that.
All of that, yeah.
YouTube Shorts.
YouTube Shorts, right?
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder, how is that going to impact the way we title longer form content on YouTube in the future?
That's a good question.
Right.
Is it-
We start to see new patterns emerge. Will those shorter titles
Yeah.
start to influence the longer ones?
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about.
It is. It's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's an evolving landscape.
It is an evolving landscape.
For sure.
So yeah, as you're creating your next video, think about that.
Yeah, keep that in mind.
What kind of title is really going to grab attention in this ever-changing world of online video?
It's a challenge, but it's an exciting challenge.
It is an exciting challenge, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
It's been fun.
It has. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
All right, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
This episode is brought to you by TunePocket. Boost your YouTube success with powerful free video optimization tools. Visit TunePocket.com to get started.